Hello students, welcome back to our crash course. And today's topic is percentages, a very simple topic. In fact, all topics of quant will become very easy once you do our arithmetic well. So I think you'll find it easier to understand because it is easy chapter, short chapter. We'll do it quickly. We will start with this. What do we mean by percent? It is per 100. It is fraction of or 1/100th part of something. So it is 100th part of something because cent is 100. You can relate it with century. So 1% will be 1/100, 5% is 5/100, 20% is 20/100. So percent in general, this percentage sign is actually equivalent to 1/100. Fine. जब भी परसेंट साइज साइन को हटाना हो, whenever we want to remove percentage sign, we just divide by 100 and remove the percentage. Next two sections are about converting fractions into percentages and percentages into fractions. So for example, if you have a percentage, for example, let us say 10%. How will we convert it into fractions? 10% is equal to, just instead of percentage sign, write 1/100 and you'll get 1/10. 25% is equal to 25 divided by 100, removing the percentage sign and dividing by, instead of that, dividing by 0, because percentage is nothing but division by 100, equal to 1/4, and so on. Second is converting fraction into percentages. कुछ नहीं करना है, it's reverse operation of what we just did. We multiply by 100 and add percentage sign. जैसे कि 3/4 is equal to 3/4 into 100%, right? So it will be 4, 25, 3 is 75%. Fine. In general, 100% is nothing but 1. Why? Because 100% is division by 100, 100/100 is 1. So 100% का मतलब 1 होता है. So here essentially we are not changing the fraction, we are just multiplying by 1. So 1 से multiply करने पे तो number change नहीं होता. So that would be 75%. Similarly, 3/8 is equal to 3/8 into 100% equal to 12.5, sorry, 37.5%. This is 1, 12.5, 12.5 into 3 is 37.5. Okay, I hope it is clear. You can read it through it. वही लिखा है, 120% is 120/100, which is 6/5. उसको reduce कर करके 20 से divide करोगे numerator और denominator को, you will get 6/5. And converting fraction to percentage, जैसे 100 से multiply करके percentage sign add करो ताकि 1 से multiply हो जाए, fraction change ना हो and just percentage sign gets added. Next section is percentage of a particular number. यहाँ पे it's like a word problem. It is different kind of looking at percentages. So we are basically trying to cover different types of questions and in what ways examiner can check your understanding of percentage. 9% of what number is 36? So we can assume that number to be n. It is like a word problem. So जो भी पूछा गया है, whatever that is being asked, we can assume it as unknown. 9% of what is n? So let us assume that 9% of this number n is 36. 9% is nothing but 9/100 into n equal to 36. N is equal to, this multiplication 9/100 will become 100/9 when we take it to right hand side, and this will just be 400, 100 into 4. Second, 15% of what number is 150? Again, we will assume 15% of n is equal to 150. So 15%, 15/100 into n is equal to 150. N is equal to 150 into 100/15. 15 cut हो जाएगा. 10 into 100, it is 1000. Fine, easy. 20% of what number is 50? Again, it is will be 20/100 times n is equal to 50, n is equal to 50 into 100 by 20, which is 250. Fine. Let us continue. We have next question. 30% of number is 48. Then 70% of that number is what? Again, one more way of looking at it, I'll tell you. Of some number, 30% is 48. 30% क्या है किसी नंबर का? 48 है. Then 10% क्या होगा? 1/3 of this. It will be 16. Correct? तो 70% क्या होगा? यहाँ से 70% will be 112. Right? 16, 7. This into this divided by 3, so this divided by 3. This into 7, so this into 7. 30% 48 है, so 10% will be 16, so 70% will be 112. That way also you can solve. Fine. Then this was asked in CSE 2022. Interesting question. Very, very basic concepts involved, but it was it needed application of those concepts. So let us read through it. When 70% of x is added to another number y, so 70% of x plus y is equal to 165% of y. Fine. And when 60% of x is added to z, it will become 165% of z. Okay, so let us look at this question. I have just written down whatever the information that was given in the question. 70% of x is added to y and number becomes 165% of y, and 60% of x is added to z, sum becomes 165% of z, and then we have to compare x, y and z. So it is simple question. See, let us take y from this equation, let us take y on other side, and x let us keep on one side itself. So from here we'll have 70% of x is equal to 165% minus y. Y is what? 100% y. 100% is 1. So I can write y as 100% y. Why did I write that? Because I can then subtract percentage. So it is 65% of y. So 70% of x is 65% of y, or I can write it as x by y is equal to 65 by 70. Percent can get cancelled because percentage is nothing but 1 by 100. So x by y is 65 by 70. So obviously y is bigger. X 65 है तो y 70 है. So y is bigger. From here we have y greater than x. And similarly from second equation we can take z on other side and we'll get 60% x is equal to 165% minus z is 65% z, because this z is nothing but 100% of z. So x by z is equal to 65 by 60. percent कट हो जाएंगे because percent sign is nothing but 1 by 100. तो same quantity है तो कट हो जाएगी. So x 65 है तो z 60 है तो x is bigger. So we have y bigger than x bigger than z. That is the relation. So y bigger than x bigger than z. Answer is A. This was question asked in CSE 2022. Next, two different percentage of same number. तो ये सब ठीक है आपके रेफरेंस के लिए. Let's just directly look at the question. आपको समझ में आ जाएगा मैं क्या बोल. If 40% of a number exceeds 25% of the same number by 54, find the number. क्या बोला गया है? दो quantities है. There is one quantity which is 40% of the number. Some number उसका 40%. So let us call that number n. So we have 40% of n exceeds 25% of the same number. 25% of n मतलब 25% of n से so अपन 54 से बड़ा है वो. Exceeds का मतलब होता है बड़ा होना. Difference. This quantity is 40% of n. This is 25% of n. सो बोला कि ये क्वांटिटी इस क्वांटिटी से 54 से एक्सीड करती है, तो मतलब ये जो डिफरेंस है दोनों में दैट इज 54, so this is equal to 54. 40% minus 25% is 15% of n, because of we are taking a percentage of same quantity, directly subtract हो सकती है चीजें, तो 15% of n is equal to 54, तो 54 n क्या होगा 54, this 15% is 15 by 100, so it is into 100 divided by 15, so we can calculate 5 से डिवाइड कर सकते हैं, यहाँ पे 20 आ जाएगा, फिर 3 से डिवाइड कर सकते हैं, यहाँ पे 18 आ जाएगा, तो इट इज 360, आंसर वुड बी 360. फाइन. Different percentage of a same number. So if the number is same and we take different percentage, then they can directly be a percentage can added or subtracted. That is the point. मतलब 40% of some number minus 15% of some 25% of some number of the same number will be 15% of the same number. ये हमने पहले भी किया था when we did that voting वाला question जो CSE last year में आया था. So we can subtract directly. Then next question. Given quantity as a percentage of another quantity. Fine. Now यहाँ पे we are given two quantities. Let us say x and y. We want to find out what percentage of x is y or what percentage of y is x. In both the cases, answer will differ. Why? Because we are changing the base. We are looking at the quantities from different perspective. So we have to express, let us say y as percentage of x. तो क्या बोलेंगे हम हमेशा की तरह, let y is equal to p% of x and we just want value of p. तो y is equal to p by 100 into x, or then p is equal to y divided by x into 100. So for example ये question लेते हैं, what find 30 is what percentage of 150. We'll assume that 30 is equal to some x percent of 150. So 30 is equal to x by 100 into 150. So x is equal to 30 into 100 divided by 150, which is 1520. So मतलब 30 is 20% of 150. What percentage of 200 is 25? So 25 we'll assume as p% of 200. Again we solve for p. P is equal to, you will get 25 is equal to p by 100 into 200. 100 200 यहाँ पे ही काट दो, 2 आ जाएगा यहाँ पे. So p is equal to 25 by 2 is equal to 12.5. So 12.5% of 200 will be 25. Again, what percentage of 100 is 37.5? By definition percentage क्या होता है? By definition percentage is 100 का कितना? तो 100 का 37.5 100 का कितना है? It is 37.5% per 100 का ही तो पूछा है. That is why this is just a revision question for you. कि whenever we asked what percentage of 100 is some quantity, the quantity itself is an answer, क्योंकि हम परसेंट देखते ही 100 पे. Next, converting percentages into decimals and decimals into percentages. Very simple, similar to what we did for fractions. For example, what is 67% into decimals? 67%, what is the 67%? Is nothing but 67 by 100. और 100 से divide करते time, what we do? Just 2 decimal points to the left. So it is 0.67. वैसे ही कुछ और लेते हैं, 0.5% is equal to 0.5 divided by 100 is equal to 2 decimal to the left, 0.005. यहाँ से यहाँ और यहाँ, तो यहाँ पे आ जाए. Fine. And we can take some more example. 125% is equal to 125 divided by 100. यहाँ पे यहाँ से decimal point यहाँ आएगा, फिर यहाँ आएगा. So 1.2. I hope you understand how to convert percentages into decimals. So what is 67%? 0.67. 4.7% will be divided by 4.7 divided by 100, which is 0.047. 345% would be 3.45. 1234% would be 12.34. 3/4% would be 3/4 divided by 100. So 3/400, which is equal to, or you can convert firstly 3/4, you can convert into decimal, which is 3/4% is equal to 3/4 is what? 0.75%, which is equal to 0.0075. Correct? That is the answer. Next section, we want to convert decimals into percentages. Just the reverse process as above. क्या करना है? 100 से मल्टीप्लाई करना है एंड परसेंटेज साइन ऐड करनी है. बेसिकली 100% से मल्टीप्लाई करना है. तो 0.3 is 0.3 into 100% is equal to 100 से when we multiply by 100, decimal point shifts to the right by 3. तो यहां से यहां, यहां से यहां. So it is 30%. 4.5% is 4.5 as a percentage, 450%. Decimal to the right by 2. 1234 as a percentage, 123400%. 0.046 as percentage, 1 2 यहाँ पे आ जाएगा. So it is 4.6%. Fine. I hope it is clear. Next, effect of percentage change on any number. So यहाँ से till now we were doing very basic things, and from now on we are doing something that is more relevant to examination. So let us see what happens when any number is increased by x%. तो क्या करना है? कुछ भी number है, we have some number and it is being increased by some percent. So let us start with simple example. Let us start with 100 only. Let us start with 100, and if the 100 is increased by 10%, तो क्या quantity बनेगी? 10% of 100 only, ना? So new quantity will be 100 plus 10% of 100 is equal to 100. You can take as common, so 100 into 1 plus 10%. 10% is what? 10% is nothing but 0.1. So it is equal to 1.1 into 100 is equal to 100. Directly यहाँ पे भी ऐड कर सकते हो. 100 plus 10% of 100 is 10. So 110. 100 plus 10 is 110. So 10% increase on 100 मतलब 100 का 110 बनेगा. 20% increase on 100 मतलब 100 का 120 बनेगा, etc. तो 100 के लिए तो बहुत easy चीज. But if you don't know the number, तो मतलब if you have number n and it is being increased by some quantity x%, तो क्या होगा? xn plus x% of n is equal to, you can take n as common, so you'll get 1 plus x% of n. ये बनेगी new quantity. And now this x can be anything. X can be 10, 15, 20. तो if हमें ये भी तो पता ही है अभी कि we can convert percentage into decimal. तो मतलब 10% हुआ तो इसका मतलब क्या होता है? 0.1 होता है. 15% का मतलब क्या होता है? 15 का मतलब होता है 0.15. फिर 25% का मतलब होता है 0.25 and so on. So x% you can add. तो 1 plus 10% क्या होगा? 1.1. 1 plus 15% क्या होगा? 1.15. 1 plus 25% क्या होगा? 1.25. ठीक है. So basically, if you want a new number, we can just multiply by these numbers and get the answer. So let me do few questions that are there. देखो, n plus x% of n, which is n into 1 plus x% is equal to x% को मैंने x by 100 लिख दिया and simplify कर दिया, तो ये आ गया. See the question: if salary of Balbir is 1000, if it is increased by 10%, what is his new salary? क्या होगा? 10% increase मतलब कितना increase? 1000 का 10% is 100 rupees increase. So नया salary will be 1000 plus 100, which is 1100. Or we can think of it as 10% से increase हुआ है ना? So new quantity will be 1.1 into 1000, which is 1100. 100 ये होगा. What is the resulting number if 10 is increased by 150%? 150% से increase हुआ है, तो मतलब what will be the increase? 150% of 10. 150% of 10 is 15. So new quantity will be 10 plus 15, which is 25. Or you can say it is 10 into 150% is 1.5. So 1 plus 1.5 is 2.5 is equal to 25. Same answer, right? Similarly, ये चीज का उल्टा, if we decrease a number, तो again starting with the 100 का example, if we decrease 100 by 15%, so what will be the new quantity? 100 minus 15% of 100, which is 15. 100 minus 15 is 85. तो 100 को अगर if we decrease by 15%, new quantity will be 85. If you decrease 100 by 20%, it will be 80. Decrease by 70%, it will be 30. So 100 को decrease करने का भी तो कोई problem नहीं है. But let us take some other example. Let us take number n, and if you decrease it by x percent of n, the new quantity will be 1 minus x% of n. Now, if we decrease by, again we know x percent क्या है. If x is 10, then x percent is 0.1. X is 15, this x percent is 0.15, and so on. So 1 minus x percent is going to be 1 से छोटा करना है उतने परसेंटेज को. So मतलब if 15% decrease, so new quantity will be 0.85 n. If 10% decrease, then new quantity will be 0.9 n. If it is 20% decrease, new quantity will be 0.8 n. The percent voting wala question that we solved. Question said we have whatever number of voters are registered voters are there, but only 80% of them vote. So 80% is 0.8. So उस केस में 0.8 n लोग ही vote कर रहे थे. Then if we, for example, if we have a city and in the city 20%, 25% people leave for jobs. So how many people remain? It will be 70.75 into whatever the original number we have. 1 minus 25%, which is 1 minus 0.25, which is 0.70. ठीक है? I hope you understood this. What is the resulting number if 500 is decreased by 2.5%? What will be the number? It will be 500 minus 2.5% of 500. 2.5% of 500 is what? 2.5 divided by 100 into 500. So it will be 2.5 into 5, 12.5. So just reduce 12.5 from 500. It will be some 487.5. What is the resulting number if 200 is decreased by 100%? 100% decrease मतलब 100% is entire quantity total. So 200 is decreased by 200, resulting quantity is 0, right? 100% of 200 is 200 only. ठीक है? Next is net change in percentage. So in this type of questions, there are successive changes in percentages. So एक के बाद एक percentage change होते रहेंगे, and you are asked कि ultimately net change क्या हुआ? 2-3 transaction हुए. So for example, if price of article increased 10% in first year, 20% in second year, and 20% in third year. So what is the net change in price from first year, day 1? तो ऐसा टाइप के क्वेश्चन होंगे, बहुत सिंपली करेंगे. I'll not bore you with unnecessary details and symbols. Let us directly do questions. Just see how to do each question type, and that should be enough. We are at that stage now. If a number is increased by 12% and then decreased by 18%, find the net change in percentage. So in the net change question, the easiest thing to do is start with 100. Initial आप 100 मानो, because then what happens? Absolute change in numbers will become percentage change. 100 क्योंकि हम percentage हमेशा 100 पे ही गिनते हैं, तो absolute and percentage change will become same if you start with 100. So what we say, let the initial number be 100. Then that number is increased by 12%, meaning अब कितना हो गया वो? 112 हो गया. 12% of 100 is 12 only. So 12 से increase हो गया, so it is plus 12%. Now this is decreased by 18%. 18% decrease मतलब what happens? 112 minus 18% of 112. 18% of 112 you can calculate. What is it? 18 by 100 into 112. So we can divide by 4. So it will become 25. It will become right, 28 by 25. You can calculate this number now because I have given some random numbers. Answer is not very easy, but UPSC will give you quantity such that answer is easy. I'll just calculate it using calculator. 18 into 28 divided by 25. So it is 20.16. Is 20.16. So it will be 112 minus 20.16. So it will be roughly some 91.84. 91.84. So what is the net change? Net change 100 से 91.84 हुआ तो net change is minus 8.16%. This is the change. ठीक है, reduce हुआ ना तो इसलिए change is 80.16%. Next, salary of Virat is increased by 10% and then again by 20%. Find the net increase. Starting let us assume कि 100 से salary चालू हुई, 10% increase meaning 110 हुए and 20% increase on this, 20% of 110 which is 1.2 times 110 which is 12 into 11, so 132. So 100 से 132 मतलब net change is plus 32%. Correct? That is the net change. Simple है. So या तो तुम ऐसे कर लो या फिर कैसे करोगे, 110 plus 20% of 110. 20% of 110 is 22. 22 plus 110 which is again 132. आंसर सेम ही आएगा, कोई भी करो. Next, length of a rectangle is increased by 30% and breadth decreased by 20%. Find the net change in area of rectangle. So I hope you remember that area of rectangle is length into breadth. So let us say that initially length and breadth both were 10 and 10. यहाँ पे 100 नहीं ले रहा क्योंकि मल्टीप्लिकेशन करना है, तो कैलकुलेशन वुड बी मच बिगर इफ आई टेक 100 and 100. So 100 into 100 होगा ना इनिशियल एरिया. तो इनिशियल एरिया इज 100 हियर. तो इन एरिया पे चेंज निकालना है ना, तो मैं 10 साइड्स लूंगा तो इनिशियल एरिया विल बी 100. नाउ लेंथ इज इंक्रीज्ड बाय 30%. सो लेंथ क्या होगी, 30% इंक्रीज मतलब 1.3 into 10 which is 13. 1.3 into 10, 30% increase. And breadth is decreased by 20%. 10 का 20% decrease मतलब this is 0.8 into 10, 20% decrease. तो मतलब यहाँ पे ये होगी 8. So area is 13 8 जा 104. So what is the net change in area? It is plus 4%. Fine, easy. देखो PYQ सॉल्व करते हैं अगर आपको लग रहा हो कि ये बहुत इजी क्वेश्चन है. The increase in price of certain item was 25. So there is certain item. Let us assume initial price was 100. So increase is 25%. So 125 increase हुआ. Then price was decreased by 20%. 20% decrease अब तो क्या होगा price? 125 minus 20% of 125. Now if you remember, you can simplify this. 20% is 20 by 100 into 125 or 20% is 1 by 5. That also we know 20% is 1 by 5. So 1 by 5 of 125 is 25. This is equal to 25. So 125 minus 25, so 100. So price again became 100 and then again increased by 10%. So 100 का 10% is 110 हो जाएगा फिर से. Then what is the net resultant increase in the price? 100 से 110 हुआ, so resultant increase is 10%. Simple, very simple. This was CSE 2022, not an old question. So पहले 25% increase हुआ, then 20% decrease हुआ, तो 125 minus 20% of 125. Just calculate this, you get 25. 125 minus 25 is 100. So price below 100 ही अभी. Again increase by 10%. So 110 हुई. So net changes from 100, it becomes 110. देन CSE 2021 का क्वेश्चन है देखो, if the price of article is decreased by 20%, so let us again assume starting में 100 था price of article, it is decreased by 20%, तो 80 हो गया, then increased by 25%, so 25% increase meaning you have 80 plus 25% of 80, 25% of 80 is nothing but 20, so 80 plus 20 it is 100, फिर से 100 हो गया, तो what is the net change in the price? 100 से 100, so net change is 0. As simple as that. Fine. I hope it is clear. Next section is about keeping expenditure fixed. Just give me a minute. I'll drink some water. Next section is keeping expenditure fixed. आप कभी भी कुछ भी खरीदने जाते हो, whatever you want to buy, you go to a, let us say, petrol pump and you buy certain liters of petrol, and petrol का कुछ price होता है, let us assume today it is 100 rupees. So what is your expenditure? 100, which is per liter का price, into number of liters you buy. So expenditure, total expenditure is your consumption in liters into rate of the item or price. Obviously यही होता है. I hope you can relate to it. That total expenditure is equal to consumption into rate. Rate into consumption is your expenditure. And here what we want to do in this section is we want to keep our expenditure fixed. So for example, you have 1000 rupees to buy petrol per week, let us assume. So what you will do? It doesn't matter to you what price of petrol becomes. If it increases, then you will reduce your consumption so that तुम्हारा final expenditure becomes same. If the rate decreases, you can increase your consumption so that expenditure is same. So if rate increases by certain percentage, question would be by what percentage you need to reduce your consumption so that expenditure is fixed. यही question आता है घुमा फिरा के. So in case rate increases, we have to reduce the consumption. If the rate falls, we have to increase the consumption. तो वो कितने से होगा वही हमें ढूंढना है. Let us see how to do it directly by questions. No point in wasting our time in symbols or derivations and all. Let us directly see how to do questions. And again, because this is a percentage chapter, हम start 100 से करेंगे. If the price of watch is increased by 10%, by how much percentage must a shopkeeper reduce his consumption to have no extra expenditure? So let us assume that price of watch was 100 initially and he used to buy again 100 watches. So his initial expenditure was 100 into 100. That should be his final expenditure as well, because we don't want to change the expenditure. Now watch price is increased by 10%. So price increases by 10%. So new price is 110. Now we want to find out by how much percent he reduces his consumption. So let his new consumption be some C. Fine. अब क्या पता है हमें? This is equal to this old expenditure is equal to new expenditure. So new consumption क्या होगा? 100 into 100 divided by 110. Right? This will be the new consumption. It will be obviously less than 100 because ये 110 से नीचे division में 110 है ना? So this quantity will be less than 100. तो कितना कम expenditure करना पड़ेगा? That is the percentage reduction as well, because we have started from 100 consumption. तो ये जो भी quantity आएगी, you can reduce this 10 and 10. This is 1000 by 11, which is equal to this 11 9s are 99, 10, 11 0, and again 0.9. So his new consumption is some 90.9. So what is the by what percentage he must reduce his consumption? It is 100 minus this quantity. So what? 9.1. Right? This is roughly 9.1% से उसको अपना consumption reduce करना पड़ेगा. This is the benefit of starting from 100. कि जो भी एब्सोल्यूट वैल्यू आ गई 90.9 एंड इससे जो 9.1 आ गई, that is also a percentage reduction because we have started from 100. परसेंटेज एंड एब्सोल्यूट सेम ही है 100 के लिए. फाइन, वी स्टार्ट विथ consumption 100, rate 100, new consumption, new rate, 110, 10% increase, new consumption we have assumed as C, and just equate it, find out value of C. जो भी आएगी तो ये नए कंजम्पशन ये होगा, तो कितना रिड्यूस हुआ 100 से 9.1 रिड्यूस हुआ, दैट इज द रिडक्शन. फाइन. नेक्स्ट, if price is reduced by 5% and then increased by 20%, by how much percentage must consumption change to have same expenditure? Now again we can assume that initial price is 100, initial consumption is 100. Fine. Now the price is being increased in 2 steps. ठीक है, तो मतलब नेट चेंज पहले निकालना होगा प्राइस का. तो पहले प्राइस 100 से 5% इज रिड्यूस्ड, तो 95 हो गई, एंड देन इट इज इंक्रीज बाय 20%. तो 95 से 20% ऑफ 95, 95 प्लस 20% of 95 is equal to 95 plus 20% is 1/5. 1/5 of 95 is 19. It is 114. So क्या हो गया? 114 is the new value. So net increase is 114. So new price is 114 is equal to 114 into consumption. So we just have to find consumption. 100 into 100 divided by 114 is equal to consumption. ये जो भी value आएगी, that 100 minus this value would be the net change in percentage. So 100 minus this is your answer. So you can simplify 114 into 100 minus 100 into 100 divided by 114 is equal to 100. You can take as common. 100 into 114 minus 100, which is 14, divided by 114, which is 1400 divided by 114. Simplify, you can divide by 2 first, so you will get 700 divided by 57. I think there is no further division, so you can approximate, and option में जो भी इसके करीब होगा ना उसको आंसर कर देना. Maybe you don't have to calculate it exactly, और कर भी सकते हो अगर आपको चाहिए. 57, you can see that 57 ones are 57 plus 13 आएगा, 130 आएगा, तो 57 2 जा समथिंग 12 पॉइंट समथिंग आएगा आंसर. तो वो ऑप्शन में जो भी होगा तो वो मार्क कर लेना. ठीक है, आई होप दिस इज अंडरस्टैंडेबल. वी स्टार्टेड विद कंजम्पशन 100, रेट 100. वी फर्स्टली फाउंड आउट व्हाट इज द नेट चेंज इन रेट, क्योंकि यहाँ पे पहले थोड़ा डिक्रीज किया है, पहले फिर इंक्रीज किया है. सो वी हैव टू फाइंड आउट व्हाट इज द अल्टीमेट रेट फर्स्ट स्टेप में और प्लस सेकंड स्टेप में. सो एंड बाय हाउ मच परसेंटेज मस्ट कंजम्पशन चेंज. तो कंजम्पशन हमने क्या होगा, सी बोल दिया. So 114 into C. We just have to find out the C, and 100 minus that C is the percentage change. ठीक है, उतने परसेंट से कंजम्पशन रिड्यूस होना पड़ेगा. फाइन, आई होप दिस वाज क्लियर, दिस सेक्शन वाज क्लियर. यहां से क्वेश्चन बनता है. नेक्स्ट, आई थिंक लास्ट फ्यू सेक्शंस, परसेंटेज एक्सेस और shortness. Percentage excess or shortness में what we are talking about, that we have two quantities and we want to talk about relation between them percentage wise. For example, we are given two numbers A and B. We have to tell by how much percentage A is more than B and by how much percent B is less than A. So let us take sample question that let us take two numbers. Let us take 100 and let us take 125. Fine, 100 and 125. So if I have 100 standing here, I can see 125 there. So by how much percent 125 is more than me? 25% clearly, because वो मेरे से 25 से बड़ा है ना. What is my 25%? 25 only, because I am 100. So myself plus 25% of myself will be 125. So he is 25% larger than me. Fine, that is 125. But if I am 100 now, but if I shift to perspective of 125 and I see 100 standing there, now my question is by how much percent that 100 is far from me. Is it going to be 25 or is it going to be something else? Because 25% of 125 is not same as 25% of 100. And I'm looking from 125's perspective. I'm looking for my perspective. Absolute values, he's 25 less than me. But 25 is not my 25%. 25 is in fact my 20%, 1/5. 1/5 of 125 is 25, na? So 25 is now 20% of me. So if I look at 100, I see 100 20% smaller than me, not 25% smaller. But if I'm 100, I see 125 as 125%, 25% bigger than me. If I'm 125, I see 100 as 20% smaller than me. Because why is this happening? Because we are changing the base from whose perspective we are looking. If we are looking for 100, if you are looking from 100 perspective, it is 25% bigger. But if we are looking from 125's perspective, 100 is in fact 20% smaller, because my 20% is 125. Sorry, no, my 20% is 25. I'm not 100. I'm 125. I'm a bigger number. Fine. So my 20% is 25. So 100 is in fact 20% smaller than me, and that is the difference between looking from different angles or looking for different lens. Let us see the questions. If income of Amar is 20% more than Samar, ठीक है? तो Samar and Amar. Income of Amar is 20% more than Samar. So Samar is 100, Amar is 120. Fine. By what percentage is Samar's income less than that of Amar? तो मैंने 100 के perspective से, Samar के perspective से, Amar's income is 20% more. So मैं 100 हूँ, I am Samar, I am 100, Amar is at 120. So, but if I change my perspective to Amar, now by what percentage Samar is less than me? So we have to change from Amar's base to Samar's base. So it is in absolute terms, of course it is by 20, it is less, 120 say 20, but the percentage is 120 divided by 120 into 100, because the base is now Amar, not Samar. Earlier the base was Samar, so it is 20% plus 20%. But here it is not minus 20%, because 20% of 120 is not 20, it is 30. So we have to, this is going to be the answer. 0 we can cut, and what else we can do? 1 by 6. So it is 16.66%. Fine. So Samar's income is 16.66% less than that of Amar. That is going to be the answer. We just have to change the base. And this is how you change the base. A is 20% less than B. Then by how much percentage is B more than A? If A is 20% less than B, so A is 80. If B is 100, then A is 80. Right? A is 20% less than B. So मैं 100 से 20% कम हूँ. So if we are looking at the from B's perspective, A is 80%. A is at 80, B is at 100. But now if I look at it from A's perspective, from 80's perspective, by how much is 100 more? Absolutely, in absolute quantity, it is 20. So percentage, in percentage terms, it is absolute change divided by the base into 100. Absolute change divided by base into 100 is the percentage change. It is 1 by 4 and 25. So it is 25%. Fine. This is 25%. I hope that was clear. Now we are looking at a, I think last section is there, increasing population of a city. Increase at a which increases at a constant rate. So if there is a city whose population is increasing at a constant rate R, तो हर साल 10% से population बढ़ रही है. That is some one example. Every year, and we are asked to find that population after a certain number of years. This calculation is very similar to compound interest calculation, where capital or base amount on which interest is given keeps on increasing every year. So basically, if you know, if you have a bank account, you must have known that हर साल आपका पैसा बढ़ता है, and में कैसे बढ़ता है? That increases from compound interest. That increases via compound interest. So basically, आप 1000 rupees if you give it to the bank and you have 10% interest rate, then next year your amount becomes 1000 plus 10% of 1000, which is 100, 1100. And For second year, you will get interest not only on your initial 1000 rupees but on 1100. So वो इंटरेस्ट पे इंटरेस्ट भी आपको मिलता है. 100 रुपए जो आपका ईयर 1 का इंटरेस्ट था उस पे भी आपको इंटरेस्ट मिलता है. दैट इज कॉल्ड कंपाउंडिंग एंड दिस कैलकुलेशन इज वेरी सिमिलर टू दैट. This is the formula of compound interest. It's not very difficult. You can remember it, but I'll tell you. If you don't want to remember, that is also fine. I'll tell you how to go about it. So, for example, if the population of city increases at the rate of 10%. So initial population मान लेते हैं कुछ n है, मान लिया. So next year what will be the population? It is 10% increase, so it will be 1.1 into n, right? 10% increase. This is year number 1. अब दूसरे साल में फिर से 10% बढ़ेगा, again 10% increase in year number 2, so it will be 1.1 of 1.1 n, क्योंकि now this is the population of the city ना, उस पे 10% increase होगा. For third year, it will be 1.1 into 1.1 into 1.1 n. This is 1.1 into 1.1, right? And so on. So ये क्या होगा? 1.1 n. This is 1.1 square n. This is 1.1 cube n. After 3 years, after 1 year, after 2 years, after 3 years, after कोई random number of years क्या होगा? 1.1 into जो भी number of years है into जो इनिशियल पॉपुलेशन था. ये होगा कि नहीं पॉपुलेशन? यही है. दैट इज द कंपाउंड इंटरेस्ट फॉर्मूला. अगर आपको कॉम्प्लिकेट लग रहा है, ये ऐसे करो, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं. एन से 10% इंक्रीज, 10% इंक्रीज, 10% इंक्रीज, ऐसा होगा. सो इफ द पॉपुलेशन ऑफ सिटीज लेट अस से 10 लाख, नेक्स्ट ईयर वो 10 into 1.1 लाख बनेगा. उसके बाद जो 11 है ये 11 लाख बनेगा. तो ये 1.1 into 11 लाख बनेगा. उसके बाद 1.1 into 1.1 into 11 लाख बनेगा एंड सो ऑन. ऐसे बढ़ता जाएगा पॉपुलेशन. दिस इज द कंपाउंड इंटरेस्ट वाला फॉर्मूला. पॉपुलेशन आफ्टर एन इयर्स इज x into 1 plus r by 100. r is rate, so r by 100 is r%. 1 plus r% क्या होता है? 10% हुआ तो 1.1 होता है, 20% हुआ तो 1.2 होता है, 30% हुआ तो 1.3 हो जाता है ये क्वांटिटी. रेज टू n, जितने भी नंबर ऑफ ईयर्स है, दैट इज द पॉपुलेशन आफ्टर n years. And if a population of city is x and we have to find out population before n years or after n years ago, तो आफ्टर के लिए तो है अपने पास, बट बिफोर के लिए क्या करेंगे? इफ वी आर गिवन दैट पॉपुलेशन हर साल 10% इंक्रीज होती है एंड आज की पॉपुलेशन कुछ 10 करोड़ है, 1 करोड़ है, तो 5 साल पहले कितनी थी? So you cannot find out for using this formula directly. What we have to do? We have to go back to history. We have to go back to 5 years. We have to assume that let population 5 years ago was x, right? And then what we have to do? हमें क्या पता है? Let today's population be, let us say 1 CR. Question is at 10% increase every per year, what was population 5 years ago? ठीक है. So what we do? Let population 5 years ago was x, and from there what we do? If x was the population 5 years ago, what will be the today's population after 5 years? It will be 1.1 raised to 5 into x, correct or not? And that is given as 1 CR. So x क्या हुआ? 1 CR divided by 1.1 raised to 5. That is the answer. X का answer. Now I'm just taking random numbers, so of course it is not calculable. But examiner, if he or she asks, then they will ask you solvable calculations. राइट? यही करना, दूसरा कुछ अपना ज्यादा दिमाग मत चलाना, उल्टा जाने की कोशिश मत करना, बिकॉज दैट रेट विल बी डिफरेंट. यहाँ पे 10%, यहां से यहां रेट है, इंक्रीज का रेट है, डिक्रीज का रेट वो है नहीं, डिक्रीज का रेट विल बी समथिंग एल्स. सो प्लीज यूज दिस ओनली. लेट अज्यूम दैट 5 years ago और 2 years ago और जो भी पूछा गया है, population was x, then come forward in terms of x. तो अगर in terms of x आज की population क्या होगी 1.1 raised to 5 into x, and that quantity is known to you, which is 1 cm. ऐसे ही करना, तो वही लिखा है. And yes, that is all from percentage chapter. I hope it was helpful. And if you have any doubts, do let me know. Do share it with your friends. So thank you very much. That is all. We'll continue. Next lecture would be averages. Again, a simple chapter, but we'll continue it shortly.